Hi Steve, great to meet up with you and continue doing some work on your game. Just a quick recap on the key points that we discussed during your most recent session. First of all, quick look at your swing. Your swing's come on a ton really. I mean, it's been quite a journey from the first time we met when you had a severely rotating club face, way too much wrist hinge very early in the piece. Added to that, the flexing of the elbows and the flexing forward of the upper body during the through swing, and you had quite a chaotic movement going on, but things have tightened up nicely here now. You can see that the wrists hinge at a much more incremental rate. The arms don't flex anywhere near as much as they used to. There's a few things in there that when we do the assessment in January we'll discuss and start to put a plan in place on how to attack, but overall radius of the swing being maintained much better than it was. We can still see though that whilst you are tucking the hips more, there's still a retention of this flex, particularly in the hips and the right knee. And one of the things we discussed during your session is the importance of and the consequent effects of the flaring out of the feet, and particularly the right foot. With the foot flared out more, the hips are freed up more during the backswing, which is fine. But now during the downswing, the right hip, or the body in general, is curtailed by the amount it can rotate through. So rather than just flexing on the way through, if you will, and turning, we're now going to start to extend and create a little bit more linear movement. So whilst we are still a little bit flex forward here, we're not flex forward as much, and we've got rid of some of the flex in the right knee. You can see though that right leg straightening up much more, which is an active extension which stops the club crashing into the ground and also has a good effect on the direction you're swinging the golf club. So it's going to shallow out the angle of descent, and it's going to allow you to hit out at it for longer and come across the ball less, which can be seen with some of the fairway wood, particularly one forward shot that you hit at the end of your session. But more than anything, the 5 irons and the forwards, we talked about positioning the ball slightly further forward in the stance. But when you do that, you need to move the hips forward for longer. So the foot flare is more important, and that foot flare has a good effect on what the lower body and the upper body are doing at this point. So nice setup change, just flare the right foot out, or flare both feet out about 20 degrees, and then when we get together in January for your year start assessment, if you will, we'll discuss some changes that we need to make based on your current position and the progress that you've undoubtedly made over the past 12 months. In regards to your bunker skills, this lesson was all about controlling the low point. Again, we discussed every golf shot you ever hit, it's important to control where the club hits the ground. Now, the point at which the club hits the ground will vary from shot to shot. When we're in a bunker, we'd like to hit the ground approximately 2 inches, a ball's width, 1.69 inches, if you will. So a ball's width from behind the ball, that's where we want the club to enter the sand. You can see on this one that we clearly enter the sand way before that. So we've got no control at this point and very little awareness of where the club enters the sand. And by the time your club exits the sand, you can see it's hitting the golf ball. And that's going to result in shots that are sculled into the lip. Very rarely get out of the bunker, and if they do, they may be coming out at about 1,000 miles per hour, clearing everybody who stood at the other side of the green. So what we first did was spend some time becoming aware of how we're going to hit the ground in a more appropriate spot. So we got you hitting the line. Now, your sort of scenario here is that the ball would be positioned just in front of the line, as you'll see when we get further up. And your skill that you've got to develop is the ability to hit the ground an inch or so behind the ball, so ball's width behind. And we can see on the first swing that we make, our control of the low point is not that great. We're quite a long way behind the line. As you progress through this exercise, you started to hit a little bit nearer to the line, still a little bit behind, you see on this one here. But nearer to the line than we were at the start. So we've got a situation here now where your first attempt hit back here and your most recent attempt has hit nearer to the line. So there's a progression, and we haven't discussed mechanics at this point. We've just given you a little bit more of a clear focus on what is important when you're in a bunker. So controlling where the club enters the sand. As we work up the line more, spot on the line on that one, so you can see now there's a nice progression being made with very little change in your mechanics at this point. We were chatting about a few things as we were doing this drill, but mainly this is just you hitting the line in the sand, a little bit like we did with your long game, trying to hit in front of the line. In a bunker, we're trying to hit on this line. So same skill, there you go again, perfect, straight on the line. So within about 5 swings there, we've progressed nicely from way behind to bang on the line. And then when we come to hit this shot, what we started to notice was that during the shot, our control wasn't quite as good. So now again, the club is back here. So you knew you could hit the line, but when the ball was there was a tendency to go and try and dig this ball out because it hadn't been getting down to the bunker or getting out of the bunker. So what we discussed was how we stop the club bottoming out too quick, and there are various ways of doing it. We can look at the weight location, the handle location. For you, it was more to do with your levels. You were dropping down a lot and losing a lot of height during the downswing, and what we asked you to do was focus on the amount of knee flex that you had at setup and try and maintain that throughout the downswing. And there's the shot that you hit towards the end of your bunker session. Much more accurate with the strike. You can see the club enters the sand just behind the golf ball. Really nice execution on that one. And look how much less sort of crunch down you look to impact. Here everything's worked down this way, so we've added flex to the knees, we've added flex to the torso, whereas here we've lost a lot less height and there's been a lot less flexing of the torso and the knees through the hitting of the ball. So we talked about a few things we set up, what to do with the knees, but more than anything, when you're in a bunker, the skill that you need is to be able to hit the correct part of the sand. So hit the sand in the correct point, about a ball's width behind the ball you're trying to get out of the bunker. In order for you to do that, you've got to concentrate on your levels, if you will, the amount of knee flex you have at address. Try and maintain that throughout the stroke. Good luck with it, have a great Christmas, and I look forward to working with you in the new year and establishing some nice, clear and achievable baselines. Well done.